is the long-term hold, where anytime we hear from a new trader and their idea is, I want to hold this for the long term, it's always a red flag. And typically the reasons they heard about this company from a friend or a peer, or the stock is in their all-time highs. And we ask them why they think it's a long-term hold. And that's typically the reasons for it. It's not this fundamental research of what the company's doing, how they're the leader in their space. So when you open with this a long-term hold, it's typically a red flag. Even for us, it's very hard for us to know that a trade will be a long-term hold. Any trade will start out as a day trade. The day trade will morph into a swing trade, into a trend trade, and then into a long-term hold. Very rarely do trades start out as a long-term investment, unless you have a real thesis of why you like this company for the long term. But for most people, the easiest long-term approach, which we talked about very briefly in step one, and we get to later on in the program, is to just dollar cost average into the indexes. You will do far better buying the broader indexes or major ETFs for the long term than trying to individually pick stocks long term, because the volatility in them will just be much greater than most can expect. And on the way up, it's very easy to hold them. But when those names drop, as we saw some of the major leaders of last year, the Amazons of the world, the Netflix, the Shopifys that were the big long-term ideas for the prior year, when they drop 50, 60, 70%, those ideas tend to change. It's not a long-term investment now. The individual's looking for the exit or how to get out. So for most, when you're starting out, buying the broad index is a much easier long-term approach. And then trying to just trade individual securities on a short-term basis is often a much more simple and easy way to go about it than trying to have these long-term ideas about these companies and sticking with them. And you'll start to see as you do it, it tends to become a little bit harder than it seems. And when you first buy the stock, it's easy to buy it. It's very hard to hold it for multiple years for it to turn into a winner. And that's why we try to gravitate towards simple long-term investing.